Welcome to Ian Cameron's Football Frenzy on Pub Sports Radio for Thursday, December 16th. Ian Cameron with you, and we are back for another edition of the show. And for the first time all season, it's an NFL-only Ian Cameron's Football Frenzy show. Why is that? Well, the CFL season is over. The Grey Cup took place last Sunday. I was there in my hometown, Tim Hortons Field. My team was in the game. The atmosphere was phenomenal. The experience was fantastic. Everybody was great around us, sitting in our section of the stadium. Everybody just having a good time, drinking their asses off, enjoying what was a phenomenal football game. Phenomenal football game, except for the end result, unfortunately. The Hamilton Ticats losing in overtime, just a heartbreaker to lose in that fashion. Just a phenomenal game, back and forth, two great football teams. Neither one gave an inch. And unfortunately, Winnipeg just made a few more plays, and that was the difference in the end. Congratulations to the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Doesn't matter the sport. It's difficult to win consecutive championships back to back. They did that with the win on Sunday. So congrats to Winnipeg. For my Ticats, heartbroken. It was a gut-wrenching feeling for me at the end of that game. But when you really take a couple days to, process everything and really look back on what the team did this season, you can look back on it and say, you know what? They did a good job, this Ticats team. It was a great season. There was a time we were even wondering if they'd make the playoffs or if they'd even make the Grey Cup, earlier back in October when things were really starting to go off the rails a bit for Hamilton. But they got it back together again. They had two good playoff wins against Montreal and Toronto and a comeback win in the East Final against the Argos. And that's the one thing I'll take some solace in. We lost the Grey Cup at home, disappointing, really tough to stomach that. But at the same time, what would have been worse is watching the Toronto Argos playing in the Grey Cup in our stadium, our hated rivals, and we at least prevented that from happening. And a good season overall, and that puts an end to the CFL season. So basically, this show is going to be NFL for the rest of the season. It's all about NFL Week 15. Let's get to it. We're going to start with Thursday night's game. And wow, we have a great matchup to start the week here on this Thursday night football matchup tonight. AFC West battle, first place battle, you could say. Kansas City Chiefs, LA Chargers. We got Kansas City 3-point road favorites, 52 the total in this game. I ain't stepping in front of the Chiefs. I will tell you that right now. Not in this spot, not with the way they've played on both sides of the football. Patrick Mahomes and the offense, is starting to kick it into high gear again the last couple of weeks. And what about the defense for the Chiefs, who have now gone 5 straight games giving up 4 points or less? Or 14 points or less, I should say, to the opponent. So it's been a turnaround for this team on the defensive side of the football. They've covered 4 straight games. They are looking to avenge an early season loss back in September to the LA Chargers. They lost 30-24 to the Chargers at Arrowhead Stadium back in September. And look, there's a much healthier, much better Kansas City Chiefs team right now going into this game. Unfortunately, one of the big reasons Kansas City's defense has improved, definitely one of the catalysts for this renaissance for the defense here in the last 5 games, was the recent return of Chris Jones, a defensive tackle who is an absolute difference maker. He is terrific along the line of scrimmage. He's arguably the best pass rusher they have to get to opposing quarterbacks. And just when they've had him back now for this little stretch, now he is ruled out tonight with an ankle injury for the Kansas City Chiefs. So very unfortunate news in that regard that they will be without Chris Jones for this game. And that does hurt this defense a little bit. And they're going up against a Chargers team that offensively here, the last 3 of the last 4 weeks, really, they've been terrific. They got shut down and at Denver with the Broncos off a bye week for that game. And Justin Herbert just made a lot of uncharacteristic bad throws, bad decisions with the football. But really, outside of that, the other 3 games in the last 4 for the Chargers, they scored 41 against Pittsburgh, 41 against Cincinnati, 37 last week against the Giants. So this is going to be a challenge for the Kansas City defense. For as good as they've played, this is definitely going to be a massive task trying to shut down Herbert and the Chargers offense. And what's been impressive too is that, they've been without Keenan Allen, for a good period of time here. Although I believe he's been removed from the COVID list for this game. So we're looking at Keenan Allen being back. He's cleared COVID-19 protocol, will play tonight. Mike Williams was dealing with a heel injury as well, and it looks like he's going to play. So you're talking about the Chiefs receiving core really getting healthy. Mike Williams is going to play tonight. Keenan Allen's going to play tonight. And then you add that to some of the players that stepped up in the absence of those two guys last week for the LA Chargers. When you all of a sudden now there's depth at this receiving core now with Williams on the field and now Keenan Allen coming back, because last week we saw, Joshua Palmer, 5 catches and a touchdown, Jalen Guyton, 3 catches and a touchdown last week. So we saw other receivers, having to step up and doing so last week against the Giants. So all of a sudden now, you've got multiple targets for Justin Herbert in the passing game. So I'm still not going against the Chiefs here. It's -3 with Kansas City or nothing for me. But again, Chris Jones, an absolute impact injury on defense. You could basically, it's not a coincidence that the Chiefs defense really started to rev it up and play their best football these last few games once he got back into the lineup from injury. I think it's not a coincidence at all that they played better with him. And now he's out again. Is that pass rush going to get to Justin Herbert, who, of course, we know is a dual threat quarterback, can make plays with his feet? That being said, it's Kansas City on a roll. It's Kansas City in revenge. It's Kansas City laying just a field goal on the road against a team with no home field edge whatsoever in the LA Chargers. There's going to be a swarm of Chiefs fans making the trip to LA. I would only look to Kansas City. I think I like the over even more, though, in this game. I think we'll see some points. For as much as the Chiefs defense has been very good, no Chris Jones. You look at, what's been transpired here the last few weeks. It was Las Vegas who have really fallen off. Dallas, when Dallas had a lot of receiver injuries and offensive line injuries that day when Kansas City played them. And then the Denver offense moved the ball against Kansas City a few weeks ago on Sunday Night Football, but turnovers really crushed them in that game. If they hang on to the football, Denver definitely puts up more than 9 points in that game. So defense has been great, but I think you can make an argument that during this recent 4-game stretch, and even the Green Bay game, 13-7, remember, that was no Aaron Rodgers that day. Jordan Love was the quarterback for Green Bay. So this is going to be a much different task here for the Chiefs defense. Even though they've played well lately, I think we'll see points non-factor with any weather indoors at SoFi Stadium. So I think we'll go over the total of 52, Kansas City -3. Smaller bet on Kansas City -3. I really don't like them not having Chris Jones tonight against this Chargers offense, but I still lean to them -3 for a small play. All right, let's go to Saturday. Yes, that's right. Saturday NFL football starting this weekend. We've got Saturday games the rest of the regular season. Of course, wild card divisional weekend, we'll have Saturday football as well. We have Las Vegas and Cleveland. Man, is there a lot to unpack here. Las Vegas, 1-point road favorites, 38.5 the total. This line opened, of course, Cleveland, 5-point home favorites. And then COVID decided to just ravage the Cleveland Browns over the course of the week. And it is definitely an ugly list of absences here. Let me rhyme them off for you, what we're probably dealing with here for the Browns. We're talking about Troy Hill, the cornerback. We're talking about Baker Mayfield, who's on the COVID list and is not going to play, which means it's going to be Case Keenum. Now, for the money to come in on Las Vegas like this, if it had just been Baker Mayfield out to Case Keenum, I don't think there's a huge drop-off, to be honest. Baker Mayfield's not played consistently. Case Keenum is a guy that's won games in this league, won plenty of games in this league as a starting quarterback. He's a guy that, led Minnesota to the NFC Championship a few years ago. Remember, he was on the throwing end of the or the dispensing end, if you will, of that Minneapolis Miracle throw to Stephon Diggs that beat New Orleans a few years ago in the divisional playoff round. This guy can win games. He's not a stiff back there. And, I think people might have overreacted a little bit to Baker Mayfield being out, not realizing that he got a capable replacement going in there in Case Keenum. But the problem for Cleveland is it's not just that Baker Mayfield's not playing, it's everybody else around the quarterback position that probably isn't going to play in this game for the Cleveland Browns. That ends up being the factor going into this game. I mean, you look at the issues here for this Cleveland Browns team going into this game, and it's really scary, to see just how much they're going to have issues here in this game. The receiving core is a little bit gutted as well. It's going to be interesting. You look at the offensive line for Cleveland going into this game. J.C. Treader, the center. He's possibly not playing. You've got Joel Bitonio, back injury. You've got Jedrick Wills on the COVID list. He's definitely out. You've got Harrison Bryant, the tight end. You've got Kareem Hunt out. You've got Austin Hooper on the COVID list. You've got Jarvis Landry on the COVID list. It is just absolutely brutal right now. Malik Jackson, got an injury, so he may not be in there as well. David Njoku, the tight end. It's just a absolute laundry list of injuries for this team. Jack Conklin, injured reserve with that torn patellar tendon as well. I mean, the offensive line is just in shambles. You're going to have Case Keenum at quarterback. You're going to have some skill position talent out. It's problems for Cleveland. There's no question. So this game becomes very difficult for me because I came into this game wanting no part of Las Vegas after what I saw last week. None. Zero. This is a team that's fought the good fight. This is a team that has battled through some serious adversity all year, done the best they can despite trying circumstances, the John Gruden circus, the Henry Ruggs tragic incident, all of that stuff. That's hard. That takes its toll mentally, emotionally on a football team. And yet they still hung in there. They had the big Thanksgiving Day win against Dallas in overtime. They thought, hey, maybe, there's still a team that's hanging in there a little bit and trying to, make the playoffs here. But boy, it's fallen out. The bottom's fallen out for the Raiders, I think, the last 2 weeks. 17-15 loss to Washington, which was a crusher of a loss because it was right there for the taking that game. It could have went either way, and they fall short, losing at home to the football team a couple weeks ago. And then just once that game started poorly against Kansas City last week, there was just no response at all from the Raiders. They just packed their bags and went home. And that is the damning part of that loss, 48-9 last week. There was some quit in the Las Vegas Raiders last week. And now this team sits at 6-7. The playoff hopes are dwindling rapidly. They're still, believe it or not, mathematically alive. But how much belief is there in this Raiders locker room right now that they can be a playoff team? I'm not sure there is. I don't want anything to do with the Raiders here in this game. But Cleveland is a mess right now because of the COVID outbreak. I mean, we have no exact idea who is going to be on the field. We know Case Keenum will be, but we don't know the offensive line, by the way. As of right now, there's a possibility that 4 of the 5 offensive linemen starting 4 of the 5 starting offensive linemen will not play in this game for Cleveland. That means you're going to have 4 backups starting on the offensive line possibly in this game for the Cleveland Browns. Is that something you want to bet on? So that's why this game is probably going to be a pass for me. I don't want the Raiders, but can I really, really go to the betting window and take Cleveland in their compromised state right now? I'm not sure I want to do that. So it's probably going to be a game I stay completely out of on Saturday. All right, the second game on Saturday, man, this is a dandy here. We got the New England Patriots and the Indianapolis Colts. Indy 2.5-point home favorites here, 45.5 the total in this game. I'll tell you what, a lot of love for Indy going into this game. A lot of people liking them in this spot. They've certainly played good football as of late. They've won 4 of their last 5 games. And overall, they're 7-3 straight up in their last 10 games, 7-3 against the spread as well. But you go down this schedule here for the Colts. And man, other than the win against Buffalo, and look, that was a great win. It was on the road against a pretty struggling lately, but still a good Bills team, 41-15, and they not only beat them, they destroyed them. So, that was a really good win for the Colts. But other than that, you shut out Houston, no big deal. You beat Jacksonville, no big deal. You beat the hapless Jets, no big deal. San Francisco, they had their injuries galore going into that game, so I don't know if you want to make too much out of that. You got Houston again, no big deal that they beat in October. Miami was a shambles at that time of the season, October 3rd. That was bad Miami, not the Miami that's all of a sudden going on a great run as of right now. So not a lot of quality wins on the resume for Frank Reich and this Indianapolis Colts team. But let's give them their due. They're playing well. Why are they playing well? Their defense has played better, and the offense really the run game has been superb. There's no other way around it for the Indianapolis Colts. The run game's been phenomenal. 151 rushing yards per game, 5.1 yards per carry. Jonathan Taylor leading the way there. And it's really given Carson Wentz which he needs a balanced offense. He's not the kind of quarterback that's going to carry the team on his own. He's got the run game working for him. Problem is, New England's got a pretty good defense against the run, and that's going to be the challenge here for Indy in this game. Patriots allowing just 4.4 yards per carry, 114.5 rushing yards per game. So this has been a pretty solid run defense here for the New England Patriots. And look, against Buffalo, 14-10 victory in that game. They really didn't allow anybody to run the football. And that was a game where you had to try to run the football with the wind being what it was. And in that game, you saw Devin Singletary, 10 attempts, 10 carries, 36 yards. Zach Moss, 8 carries, 21 yards. They were terrific against the run. My fear here is that if Indy doesn't run the football as well with Taylor against this New England defense, Wentz going to be able to make the plays necessary to win the game. A lot of love for Indy. It's -2.5 right now. I don't think we're going to see a 3. It's probably not going to get that high, but I certainly have a lean to the Patriots here. And keep in mind too, it's a Patriots team. Actually, both teams are coming off a bye, so there's no advantage there either way. But Patriots have been on a point spread surge here. That's not only 7-0 straight up, but 7-0 against the spread in their last 7 games. They just continue to impress. They've, I believe, outgained their opponent in every game except one during this stretch. And that's pretty impressive as well. And, Mac Jones isn't always lighting it up through the air in the passing game, but he's not keeping the mistakes at a minimum. He's relying on his defense. He's relying on his own run game, which now is a lot healthier now that they've got Damian Harris is healthy again. Ramondre Stevenson has emerged as a very solid running back. They've given him more opportunity and carries, and he's earned them. And Brandon Bolden, don't forget about him. They've almost got a 3-headed monster going at running back right now, New England, between Harris, Stevenson, and Bolden. And look, I think when you've got that going for you, and your defense is playing well, you don't have to do it all if you're Mac Jones. So yeah, a lot of love for Indy. And we know Indy's a pretty good home team, but if I'm betting this game, I ain't going against New England. Simple as that. 7 straight wins, 7 straight covers. 6-0, by the way, on the road this year. The New England Patriots. They've been road warriors, undefeated away from Foxborough. That's something worth noting. New England are pass for me. I'm not going against the Patriots. I'm not going against Hoodie right now, especially with a run defense that's capable of containing Indy's biggest offensive weapon, Jonathan Taylor. All right, we got Sunday's action. Washington, Philadelphia. Philadelphia 7-point favorites here, 44 the total in this game. Obviously, there's a ton of personnel issues for Washington. It's part of the reason why this line has climbed as high as it is on the Philly side. It's hard to argue with that, obviously. Tons of injuries going into this game here for the Washington football team. Taylor Heineke was forced from the last game, although it looks like he's going to be good to go. But you got cluster injuries on the offensive line that are starting to pop up now. Brandon Scherf, Keith Ismail. You go on down the list. Terry McLaurin's the best receiver they have, questionable with a head injury. That's a concern. McKissick, questionable with a concussion. Tyler Larson, Achilles injury right now. Logan Thomas, the tight end, who's had a pretty solid year, just placed on IR. That's a problem. Kendall Fuller has been moved to the COVID-19 list. For the Washington football team. Jonathan Allen also on the COVID-19 list, one of their better defensive linemen, defensive tackles. Montez Sweat, one of their top pass rushers, has been out for a while and remains out for them. Chase Young, obviously out. So it's just a ton of issues right now for Washington. The injuries are mounting. They've got some COVID-19 issues mounting, and that's a problem for this Washington team. And they certainly got off to a horrific start last week against Dallas. Credit to them for not giving up. They made that game pretty interesting and made it a sweat if you were a Dallas Cowboys fan, but they ended up losing 27-20. It's just tough to get to the window with Washington with just so many key injuries. Although I think it's kind of tough to lay 7 now. I mean, Philadelphia is kind of Jekyll and Hyde. They beat the Saints very impressively. And sure enough, next game they lose to the Giants, a bad loss, 13-7. Offense does nothing. They bounce back last week a couple weeks ago and beat the Jets 33-18. And look, it was a good performance, but the Jets are absolutely awful. I don't think you want to make too much of a big deal of that. Philly's coming in off a bye week here for this game, so certainly a scheduling advantage for them. We'll see how Sirianni does with his first opportunity to coach a team following a bye week. Let's see if he has his team. Money's come in on Philly. I think if you got Philly earlier in the week when they were, -4, 4.5, 5, 5.5, even 6, good on you. 7, I wouldn't want to lay this much now with the Philadelphia Eagles. Carolina, Buffalo. We've got Buffalo 10.5-point home favorites, 44.5 the total in this game. I think this is a Buffalo first half full game split bet for me. I'll probably be on that. You can get Buffalo -6.5 in the first half, and Buffalo, of course, is -10.5 for the game. This should be a spot where they smash Carolina. And to be honest with you, I don't even care if it's Josh Allen or Mitch Trubisky in this game. And there is a chance that it is going to be Mitch Trubisky. Josh Allen, questionable foot sprain day to day, according to head coach Sean McDermott. But if it's Trubisky, I think the Bills can still romp through this Carolina team. I mean, they've got all kinds of problems. 3 straight losses, 0-3 straight up, 0-3 against the spread. The defense has fallen apart the last few weeks, 27 to Washington, 33 to a pedestrian Miami offense. And then Matt Ryan and the Falcons hang a 29 spot against Atlanta last week. They've gone over the total, by the way, because of the defense really declining in 4 straight. I'd lean to the over as well here, 44.5 in this one. The Carolina offense just isn't very good right now. Cam Newton just absolutely awful against Atlanta. 2 pick sixes that he threw in that game, or actually, no, just one against Atlanta, but back-to-back games with a pick six is what I meant to say for Cam Newton. Obviously, he's not the answer. It was just a desperate emergency type of signing because Sam Darnold was just stinking it up so badly, and they didn't have much faith in PJ Walker either. It was just desperation all over for Matt Rule and Carolina. They're getting worse, not better, every single week that I watch this team play. I mean, this is definitely for Buffalo after back-to-back losses, frustrating Monday Night Football loss to New England in the wind ruined affair a couple weeks ago, and then the loss to Tampa Bay, frustrating. They come all the way back. You think they're going to pull off just a terrific comeback win. They get the ball first in overtime. They do nothing with it, and then of course Tampa Bay gets the touchdown to win that game in overtime. So back-to-back losses. You know what the old saying is, nobody circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills. It's probably a circle the wagons type of time here for Buffalo. And let's not forget, when they've faced inferior teams, they've had the propensity to beat them down. You look at their track record this year, 40-0 over Houston, 26-11 over Miami, 45-17 over the Jets, 31-6 over the Saints when they were banged up. You know, when they face mediocre to below average teams, and that's what Carolina is right now, they've rolled past these teams. So for me, it's Buffalo -6.5 in the first half, and probably a little bit on the full game as well. I think this could be a blowout spot for Buffalo. And even if it's Trubisky, and maybe you wait until the quarterback situation is confirmed for Buffalo, because if it's Trubisky, the line might actually come down a little bit. You might be able to get a better number. And like I say, Trubisky in the preseason was really good for the Bills. And I think now look, he's got some upside. He's got some ability. He's got some athleticism. He's a mobile dual threat quarterback. In Chicago, I think the play calling and the scheming did him in. Obviously he had to play better. He didn't play good enough, but I don't think the Chicago coaching staff always put him in the best position to succeed. I think Buffalo will more likely have a better chance of doing that. So this is going to be a bet for me, regardless of whether it's Josh Allen or Mitch Trubisky at quarterback here. I think they got the chance to just steamroll Carolina, and certainly there'll be no lack of motivation for Buffalo. They're 7-6. They need victories. Their playoff hopes are very much hanging in the balance right now. They need a big response here, and I think there's a good chance they deliver one. All right, the Jets and the Dolphins. We've got Miami, 9.5-point home favorites here, 41 the total in this game. I don't know if Miami is the kind of team I want to lay almost 10 with, but I know for damn sure I'm not taking the Jets. I cashed a ticket with the Saints last week, 5.5-point road favorites against the Jets, and the Saints rolled to an easy 30-9 victory. Taysom Hill didn't even play that well, and the Saints still put up 30 points in that game. It tells you how bad this Jets defense is. It's absolutely pathetic. It hasn't gotten any better. Miami should be able to do what they want. Miami off a bye week too, so extra time to prepare for Brian Flores. This team's gone 5-0 straight up, 5-0 against the spread in their last 5 games. They already have a 24-17 win against the Jets last month in New York. Since then, they crushed Carolina by 23. They beat the Giants by 11, 20-9 before the bye week. What's interesting here for the Dolphins is that 3 of their last 4 wins have been double-digit victories. The Jets win was only by 7. So I probably will have a small bet on Miami. It's just that Miami's not the kind of team that we're used to seeing as laying almost double digits here. This is by far the biggest favorite they've been all year. Will they be able to handle being that kind of big favorite? Hopefully, but certainly what we like to see here with the Miami Dolphins is that, their offense, even with just a short to intermediate passing game, like Tua Tagovailoa is not exactly throwing the ball downfield, but he's using the short controlled passing game and letting his receivers like Jalen Waddle make plays in the open field, the tight end Mike Gesicki as well, and run the football a little bit. That's the offense. And look, you would think it's a pretty simplistic offense for a defense to prepare for. There's been no offense that's been simple and easy to prepare for the New York Jets. That's how bad their defense has been. So even this, short to intermediate passing offense for Miami should be able to do some damage here. This could also be Miami team total look for me over 24.5 instead of laying the 9.5, because you would think there's a good chance the Dolphins get, to 27, 28 points. The Jets have been giving up that much lately. You look at the Jets, they've allowed 30, 33, 24, 45, 45, 31, 54, 27, dating back to October the 10th. And look, Miami, they scored 33 against Carolina. I think they're capable of getting to 25 points here or more to cash a team total over. So probably would be looking at either laying the points or a Miami team total over in this game. Dallas, New York Giants, Dallas 10.5 point road favorites, 45 the total in this game. A lot of points to be laying with Dallas on the road. I don't know if I'm comfortable doing that, but it's kind of like the last game. I know it's a lot of points to be laying with Miami in the last game. I don't know. I don't know if I will. I probably will. Same with this game. A lot of points to be laying with Dallas, but I know I'm not rushing to bet the Giants right now. The Giants have lost 3 of their last 4 straight up NATS. Tampa Bay by 20, Miami by 11. Chargers last week by 16, and really a late touchdown made that closer than it really was. It's difficult to get to the betting window right now with the Giants. They're banged up, the skill position talent group. They've got some key injuries on defense now that are adding up. The O-line's a little bit banged up. It's not even a good O-line to begin with. Andrew Thomas is now on the injured list with an ankle problem, so he's questionable. I mean, there's just not a whole lot to like here for the New York Giants. And this Dallas Cowboys team now with their record being 9-4, there's still an outside chance, believe it or not, for the number 1 seed, because it's Tampa and Green Bay and Arizona just ahead of them battling for it. But the Cowboys aren't even completely out of it yet. They're going to have to pretty much win out or close to it to even consider the possibility of a number 1 seed. But, they're still in the hunt at least. And, their defense has definitely taken a big step forward this season. The secondary's been better. I mean, what a season it's been for the rookie Micah Parsons. He just continues to make plays every single week for the Dallas Cowboys. Of course, Trayvon Diggs is a big reason why the secondary's improved. DeMarcus Lawrence, who did absolutely nothing last year, has stepped up and played better this year as well. So there's a lot to like. Of course, the receiving core now is getting healthier. They had, of course, Cooper and CeeDee Lamb out for a bit, and it looks like both of them are going to be available here in this game. And if only Cedric Wilson out for this Cowboys team. Keep in mind, though, Tony Pollard, who's probably been the better, more dynamic running back compared to Zeke Elliott this year. He didn't play against Washington with a foot injury and may not play here either. So we'll see if they have Pollard available, the Cowboys at running back in this game. But, you look at Dallas on the road this year, they've actually been pretty good. They're 4-1 straight up in ATS, their last 5 road games. The only loss was Kansas City when they really had a bunch of injuries on offense that day, and defense for that matter. Yeah, it'll be road favorite or nothing. Don't know if I will lay 10.5. It's a lot of points, but I don't want the Giants. Green Bay, Baltimore. Green Bay 5.5, 6-point road favorites, 43.5 the total. I think this line's a little bit out of control toward Green Bay. I get it. It's going to be Tyler Huntley at quarterback for Baltimore, probably not Lamar Jackson. But keep in mind, Tyler Huntley is a dual threat quarterback, and Baltimore doesn't have to make any amendments or any changes to their offensive scheme because of Huntley. He can run the same type of offense that they run with Lamar, which is the run-heavy quarterback. That's what they want. That's what Huntley's capable of doing for them. So, he really does fit their offense very well, Huntley. Obviously, there's a bit downgrade, but I think now when we saw Green Bay, they were around pick'em early on. Now 5.5, 6. I think that's a lot, on the road here in Baltimore. But, do you really want to go against Aaron Rodgers right now the way he's playing? It hasn't mattered which receivers are in or out. It hasn't mattered that several offensive linemen have been out. It hasn't mattered that the defense, at times has looked a little spotty, although they've been better lately. None of that has mattered. He has basically carried this team to just incredible heights this year. Offensive line injuries, receiver concerns, his own turf toe injury that he's been battling down the stretch of the season. He has just found a way to just put it all aside and let his team win these games. I mean, it's been phenomenal to watch Aaron Rodgers perform. You really want to go against him here with a Baltimore team that, look, they've lost 2 in a row to Pittsburgh and Cleveland, and really the Cleveland game was more of a lopsided score than the final would indicate. Cleveland had a big lead and kind of took their foot off the gas pedal, and Baltimore came back there. No, I don't want to go against Green Bay enough. This is probably going to be a pass for me. I don't think it's the best point spread value here with Green Bay. I think they've adjusted a little bit too much to Tyler Huntley being the quarterback here for Baltimore. But at the same time, I'm not rushing to step in front of the Packers and Rodgers right now. Like, it really is amazing. Bakhtiari injury on the offensive line, Jair Alexander, with the shoulder injury in the secondary. They've got some receiver injuries. Randall Cobb didn't play last week. It's just Robert Tonyan's been out, the tight end, for a few weeks now. No excuses. Aaron Rodgers just goes out there. O-line injuries, receiver injuries, doesn't matter. 45 points against Chicago, Sunday Night Football. He's just having a ridiculous season in a good way, of course. And you give him credit for that. I don't love the idea of going against Green Bay right now, but I do think it's an over adjustment. I think Huntley's a little bit more capable than what the point spread indicates here. So probably a game I don't get involved with when it's all said and done. Tennessee, Pittsburgh. We've got Tennessee 1.5 point road favorites, 43 the total in this game. Tennessee's got problems, man. I mean, this offense is just, they've got too many guys out. I mean, at some point it was going to show up and rear its ugly head that this team offensively has got issues. Well, the Houston game, the New England game, even last week against Jacksonville, 20-0, but that was not overly impressive, that offensive performance whatsoever from the Tennessee Titans. They only scored 2 touchdowns. They bogged down a little bit in terms of many of their drives. They're lucky their defense was extremely good against a limited Jacksonville offense. And you look at the injury report again for this team, especially on the offensive side of the football. A.J. Brown still out indefinitely. Julio Jones is always a walking question mark going into every game that he plays. That's a concern. Des Fitzpatrick, receiver, also out. And, of course, Derrick Henry remains out. And you're seeing it really impact this team negatively from an offensive standpoint. For Pittsburgh, this game is absolutely enormous. There is no denying from a spot perspective, this is a Pittsburgh spot. This is a game they need. They're hanging by a thimble right now in terms of the AFC playoff picture and the wild card race. They need this win badly. I'll say this about Pittsburgh. It was a horrible first half. They all talked about it after that Thursday night loss to Minnesota, just how bad they were early in that game. But the resolve and the resilience they showed and coming back and really putting a scare into Minnesota late in that game, that did show me something for Pittsburgh. And the quotes are all, hey, we know what's on the line here. We know we need to find a way to get a win here in this next game. I like Pittsburgh here. I think they show up. I don't trust Tennessee as road favorites. I don't trust their offense to move the ball on the road against a Pittsburgh defense that I think is going to play a lot better than they did last week against Minnesota. And actually at home, this team's played pretty solid defensively. The Baltimore game, they really frustrated Lamar Jackson and the Ravens in a home win. Detroit, obviously, they played good defensively, even though they got a tie. The offense is the unit that struggled that day. They shut down Denver at home. Much of the good defensive performances from Pittsburgh have been on this home field at Heinz Field. This is a huge game for them. They've almost got to have it. Hopefully they have TJ Watt available to them. He's questionable still as of right now. That's definitely concerning, but I just have a feeling he's going to find a way to try to play in this game for the Steelers. I like Pittsburgh here as a slight home dog. I think they'll step up. It's kind of a savior season spot for them. Stay alive in the playoff race. It's kind of what has to happen here. They've got to win. And I think, I just don't trust Tennessee's offense enough on the road to want to back them. It would be Pittsburgh for me in this game. Houston and Jacksonville. We've got Jacksonville 5-point home favorites, 39.5 the total. Look at the way this line has gone up since Urban Meyer got canned last night. It's hard to argue with that. I expect this team to be just so much more energetic, enthusiastic, a lot more harmony, a lot more, just happiness, pressure lifted off the locker room. Because look, I think it's become crystal clear in the aftermath of the firing of Urban Meyer that he wasn't very well liked by anybody. The players, the coaching staff had issues with him. I think you're going to see Jacksonville free and easy, go out there, have some fun, really play a good football game. I really do. I think this is going to it's like a black cloud has now been removed from the Jacksonville Jaguars with this firing. And I understand why the money's come in on Jacksonville. And not to mention, look, this is Jacksonville's best chance to get a third win before the season ends. And Houston is god freaking awful. That's all there is to it. Seattle, which doesn't have a great offensive line, which had been struggling offensively at times in the second half of the year. Basically, Russell Wilson has got a clean pocket that whole game last week. He doesn't get touched. He doesn't even get close to getting sacked. And they score 33 points on that Houston defense. And that's the problem for Houston. Early in the season, their defense was actually playing somewhat decent in spite of a pathetic offense. Well, now the defense has fallen apart. They've given up 31 and 33 in the last two games. Davis Mills is just horrendous at quarterback. The offense in general, the O-line's not good. Quarterback stinks. There's not a lot of skill position talent to work with. David Culley's on his way out. He's going to be a one-and-done head coach from all reports here in Houston. There's nothing to like for Houston. And I think Jacksonville does come to play here. I really think you're going to see this team with their maybe most spirited effort in a while now with Urban Meyer gone. So I fully understand why the money's come in on the Colts as a favorite, even though they've lost 5 straight games coming into this one. I think there's a chance they get back in the win column with a win and cover here against Houston. Hopefully, Trevor Lawrence plays better. The one concern I have is that he has just not progressed this year. The interceptions just continue to be an issue for him, forcing the football. Hopefully, he can settle in this Sunday, take care of the football. If he does, probably a good chance that Jacksonville wins and covers this game. Arizona, Detroit. We've got Arizona 13-point road favorites, 47.5 the total in this game. It certainly could be a first half full game split kind of spot for Arizona. And Arizona's back on the road where they're at their best. Yes, that's true. I mean, it's weird to say that, but it's true. Arizona's been at their best all year on the road, 7-0 straight up, 7-0 against the spread on the road this season for the Arizona Cardinals. And they're only 3-3 at home. I think they just come in here and they absolutely roll Detroit. They got the win against Minnesota. That was to avoid the winless season, and then we saw what happened last week. They got trounced by Denver 38-10. I was pretty confident that one win wasn't going to be, wow, we're going to all of a sudden go on a streak down the stretch. No, this is still a very much banged up team. They've had COVID issues. They've had injuries. DeAndre Swift, defensive linemen, offensive linemen have been out. It's just, we got a couple receivers out. I mean, it's just a mess from an injury standpoint here for Detroit. Now, DeAndre Hopkins is out for the rest of the regular season. That was announced earlier this week. And they've got their own injury concerns too here. The Arizona Cardinals going into this game with Chase Edmonds out. James Conner, who's been a huge part of the offense, has an ankle injury, but I expect him to play in this game. I just think Arizona, when you look at it, 7-0 straight up in ATS on the road this year. You look at some of these road wins as well. 17-point win at the Rams, 23-point win at Cleveland, 14-point win at San Francisco, 10-point win at Seattle, 11-point win at Chicago. They're probably capable of winning by 2 touchdowns or more here, in my opinion. I would probably go first half -7 and full game -12.5 here with Arizona against Detroit. Bounce back spot. And there's a lot to play for Arizona. They are now in a massive battle for the number 1 seed in the NFC. It's up for grabs. It's them. It's Tampa. It's Green Bay. They're all battling for that spot. So this is not a game they can afford to just fritter away here, Arizona. I think they show up. They've been at their best on the road. Perfect straight up in ATS on the highway. I think that can continue here in Detroit. Atlanta, San Francisco. San Francisco 9-point home favorites, 46 the total in this game. I don't know if I want to lay this much. I might go there. I might get there with the over in this game. San Francisco's a team that defensively leaves a little to be desired. We know Atlanta's defense is no great shakes. And you look at any time Atlanta's faced a pretty good offensive team, they've struggled. Dallas puts 43 against them. Tampa Bay put 30 up against them. San Francisco, you look at their own defense, they've given up 26, 30, 23 the last 3 games. They've trended over the total. I would look in that direction over the total. San Francisco certainly, I think, should win this game. I just don't know if I want to lay 9.5 with them in this game. I don't want Atlanta on the road here, but San Francisco laying this much, I don't know if I want to lay this many points. We'll lean over the total of 46. Cincinnati, Denver. Denver 2.5-point home favorites, 44 the total in this game. Man, the Bengals could be, they're 7-6, but to be honest with you, this could be a 10-3 or a 9-4 team. They've really had opportunities to win games, and they've just had some mistakes, and it's cost them in a few games. They had the upset loss against the Jets. They lost in overtime to Green Bay. Overtime loss to San Francisco last week. I mean, we could be talking about a 10-3 team right now if a couple of games go their way. Instead, they're 7-6 and still very much their playoff lives on the line, battling for one of those wild card spots. So this is a big game for Cincinnati, and it is for Denver as well. They're also 7-6, also battling for an AFC wild card spot. They're off a 38-10 drubbing over Detroit. You look at them all of a sudden, the last 2 home games, they played very well against not Detroit, but in a good win against the Chargers, 28-13 a few weeks ago, which was good to see. Obviously, the defense is really stepping up, playing better. Teddy Bridgewater throwing the ball pretty well to Noah Fant. Jerry Jeudy being back at receiver has been significant. The dual running back tandem of Javonte Williams and Melvin Gordon have gotten the job done. And now Cincinnati off a painful overtime loss. They got to go on the road here and get it done against a Denver team that's won back-to-back at home. I understand why the money's come in on Denver here. And look, Cincinnati's a young team, and we're starting to see evidence that in these big moments, they're not making the plays. They're finding ways to lose. And sometimes you get that with teams that aren't used to being in this playoff pressure cooker. Sometimes you get these situations where they're just ill-prepared to really seize the moment. And I think we're kind of seeing that. They're seizing as in kind of a little bit in some of these games, Cincinnati, with the moment. So a big game here with these 2 teams, both of them needing the win. I would lean Denver here at less than a field goal in this one. Seattle, LA Rams. We've got the Rams 4.5-point home favorites in this game, 45.5 being the total in this game. Of course, here we go with the Rams now, another team that's had COVID-19 issues crop up during the course of the week. That's definitely a concern, and that's also why we've seen some Seattle money come in here in this game. The Rams short week as well for the Rams after playing on Monday Night Football. That's a concern. 5 players in COVID protocol: Jalen Ramsey, Darrell Henderson Jr., Tyler Higbee, among others, and they've added a couple of more. 16 players now for the LA Rams in protocol. They've closed their practice facility in Thousand Oaks, California. I mean, it's just an absolutely messy situation. Now, Odell Beckham Jr. Is on the COVID-19 protocol list as well for the Rams. So that's the reason for the Seattle money here. This is one of those games you wait till Sunday. You got to see who's in and who's out for the Rams. Obviously they've got a lot on the line here. They're battling for playoff positioning. And look, they're still battling for a division title. With that head-to-head win against Arizona on Monday night, they're now only a game back of Arizona. So the NFC West division is still there for the taking for the Rams. But the question is going to be who is going to be on the field for them going into this game against Seattle. That's got to be cleared up before I even consider betting this game. All right, Sunday Night Football, New Orleans, Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay 11-point home favorites, 46.5 the total in this game. You know what? I'm leaning Saints here, to be honest with you. I mean, Tampa Bay's not the kind of team that I trust as favorites at the moment. With that defense has some problems. They've been banged up in the secondary much of the season, and that's continued. Antoine Winfield, the safety, he's on the injured list. Richard Sherman, on the injured list. Jamel Dean, questionable in this game. Mike Edwards, the safety. I mean, it's just a Jordan Whitehead, the safety. Thank goodness at least they got Carlton Davis back recently, but still, this is a depleted secondary. It's been that way for a while. That's definitely a concern going into this game. And the defense is just, they've got key personnel out. And it's, to me, difficult to trust Tampa Bay as 11-point favorites in this kind of price range. Now, I know the last time they were 11-point favorites at Atlanta a couple weeks ago, they got the cover, but barely, 30-17. In fact, they held Atlanta to a field goal with like 2 minutes left. And if Atlanta scores a touchdown on that drive instead, Tampa Bay gets backdoored, and they end up not covering if that ended up happening. So this is definitely not a team I'm in love with laying 11 with here. And for New Orleans, getting that win against the New York Jets, snapping that 5-game losing streak. Now, it was against the Jets, who are absolutely terrible, but it gets them to 6-7. It keeps at least some faint playoff hopes alive for the Saints going into this game. And obviously, there's still very much incentive that, hey, we're still in this thing. Let's see what we can do here against Tampa Bay. Now, I do have my concerns. The concerns are Taysom Hill is still not playing all that great for the New Orleans Saints, at least in the passing game. It's a limited passing attack. He only threw for 175 yards. But boy, at least having Alvin Kamara back has made a difference here for the New Orleans Saints. Now, the big question is going to be, can the New Orleans Saints run the football against Tampa Bay? Because the strength of Tampa Bay is the run defense. But the run defense for Tampa Bay, I'll say this, the last 3 games, for the season, their numbers look good. But the last 3 games, the Tampa run defense has given up 133 rushing yards per game and 6.5 yards per carry. So we've seen some decline in the run defense, which could open the door for Kamara to have a pretty solid performance running the football. And let's not forget the fact that, head-to-head with Sean Payton and the Saints against Tom Brady here, it's not been easy for Tom Brady here against this Saints team, the last couple of years. Since September of last year when he joined Tampa, New Orleans is 3-1 straight up, 3-1 against the spread against Tampa Bay. And the only Tampa win was a 10-point win. They got to win this game by more than 10 to cover the number. So if I'm betting this game from a side perspective on Sunday Night Football, it's New Orleans plus 11 for me. All right, Monday Night Football, Minnesota, Chicago. Minnesota, 3.5-point road favorites, 44 the total in this game. I don't think I want any part of Chicago. The question is, do we really want to lay 3.5 on the road with Minnesota, who just seem to always play close games? Even in a game where they're up, 29-0? Yes, it was. It was 29-0 at one point against Pittsburgh. And yet that game still ends up being an 8-point game when it's all said and done. I'll say this for Chicago. That defense has problems. I mean, that's 2 weeks in a row. Arizona, Green Bay, they've been lit up. That defense, giving up 33 points to the Cardinals and then 45 points to Aaron Rodgers and the Packers. Kirk Cousins and the Minnesota offense, especially with Dalvin Cook back on the field, more than capable, of moving the football against this Chicago team. Are they going to have Adam Thielen back? That's a question. He missed the last game with a high ankle sprain against Pittsburgh. Questionable to return here in this game. Obviously, that would be a big boost. But look, Justin Jefferson certainly stepped up in Thielen's absence. Still a terrific receiver and more than capable. KJ Osborne as well and Tyler Conklin have given them a little boost in the passing game as well. But really, this revolves around Dalvin Cook. And when you look at the Chicago run defense, it's been decent this year. We'll see if it can hold up against Minnesota here. I don't know if I trust them to. We'll check the weather. It is Soldier Field in late December. So maybe there'll be some weather concerns, but I kind of lean over 44 here. Minnesota's been trending to the over. They've gone over the total in 4 straight games. Minnesota defense isn't very good. I don't know what else you can say. They've given up 31, 34, 29, and 28 points in the last 4 games. Obviously, we know Andy Dalton for the Bears did not play last week against Green Bay on Sunday Night Football. So the question now is going to be, will he be back for this game against the Minnesota Vikings? That ends up being the question. Justin Fields played last week against Green Bay. So we'll see who's at quarterback here for the Bears. But right now I'm leaning over the total. Tough from a side perspective. I guess Minnesota would be my preferred side, but I'm not laying 3.5 on the road with a team that just finds a way to keep teams in games and rarely wins games by margin. And even with a 29-0 lead against Pittsburgh, they only won by 8 last week. So this team's got a problem trying to hold on to leads right now, Minnesota. It's not the profile of a team I'm looking to lay 3.5 with on the road. Right now, we'll lean over for Monday Night Football next week. But again, we'll see what the weather is closer to kickoff on Monday night. All right, there you go. That's the NFL Week 15 card. Every single game analyzed from a betting perspective. Thanks for watching another edition of Ian Cameron's Football Frenzy. Hit the like button. Make sure you do that if you haven't already. We'll be back with an NFL Week 15 best bet coming on up right after this. All right, Southtown 101. When you're in San Antonio, Texas, stop in. Great food, drinks, live music, DJs, karaoke. Manscaped, promo code PubSports, 20% off your purchase with that promo code Lawnmower 4.0. Any Manscaped product, get 20% off with promo code PubSports. And MyBookie.ag, promo code PubSports. NFL, college football bowls, NBA, college basketball, NHL, UFC. It's all going on right now. No better time than right now to sign up for an account at MyBookie.ag. Bitcoin accepted currency for your deposit as well. MyBookie.ag, promo code PubSports. All right, NFL Week 15 best bet. Let's see what we can find in terms of best bet for me on this NFL Week 15 card. A couple of good options that are available in my opinion, but you know what? I'm going to go with, let's see here. I'm going to go with Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh Steelers plus 1.5 right now against the Tennessee Titans. I don't buy Tennessee's offense working on the road against a Steeler defense that's played their best at home all season. Tennessee offense that's just not exactly clicking. O-line injuries. Are Jones and A.J. Brown going to play in this game? They're big question marks. Derrick Henry's still out, and you can tell it's negatively impacting this Titans offense. For Pittsburgh, this is a huge game for them. It's an almost gotta-have-it game. And we've seen Pittsburgh play their best football at times this year at home throughout the course of the year. I think they rise up here in this game against the Tennessee Titans and get the victory in a huge game to try to keep their playoff hopes alive. Pittsburgh Steelers plus 1.5 for me against the Tennessee Titans for my NFL Week 15 best bet here on Ian Cameron's Football Frenzy. That'll wrap up the show. Thanks to everyone for tuning in. And I'll be back next Thursday, 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific, for another edition of Ian Cameron's Football Frenzy, and we'll talk NFL Week 16. Thanks for watching. I'm Ian Cameron. Enjoy the games and good luck. Have a great football week and weekend. Cash some tickets, and we will be back next Thursday for another edition of Ian Cameron's Football Frenzy right here on Pub Sports Radio.